What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and I recently talked about the whole George Floyd situation and my thoughts on that and various things that are wrong about the situation itself and the response to it. Now I'm going to take the flip side of the comparison meme that has people relating that to specifically the protests in Michigan at the government building, but really the broader idea of the people protesting against the coronavirus restrictions. And this is a case where, again, we don't seem to be very good at showing each other grace, even as Christians. Some Christians are doing this in such a way that, they're basically communicating to anyone who wants restrictions lifted that, no, you're an idiot, you want people to die, and other such things. And that's not exactly the case. There's definitely more nuanced motivation for that for the vast majority of people. But for those who are protesting the restrictions, wanting them lifted, like some people, not all, some people who are doing this are just doing it in some of the most stupid ways possible. Like, I don't know how many videos I've seen in recent memory of people basically just having a blatant disregard for others wanting to take precautionary measures. Like, store employees have been beaten, I don't know for sure about killed, but at least harassed, beaten, otherwise maligned, just because a certain store is upholding a policy that some of the customers don't agree with. Like, first of all, the kinds of people that are generally protesting the coronavirus restrictions, they're most concerned about people's livelihoods because of not being able to work and earn money during, lockdowns or whatever you want to call them, or B, just the broader economic impact of the situation and the restrictions. And, you're kind of in a way defeating your own purpose when, people do open things back up and you just start complaining. Put up or shut up. Like, either go about your business with a few minor inconvenient restrictions and policies in place, or maybe find some alternative. I hear there are a lot of things that can be found and purchased on the internet these days. You could just do that, even if all the other local stores are requiring masks. You've always got that option. Make your complaint known, but getting violent over it, it's not going to help anything. Like, you beating up a store employee or getting that upset about a probably temporary policy, it's the only thing it's going to do is probably get you kicked out of the store. So, if you really are of the mindset that we live in such a free country with such a great economy that's able to give you choices and all this kind of stuff, maybe pick another choice. Or, just put up with what's there and deal with it like an actual grown adult who isn't just gonna get outraged over the tiniest little inconveniences. And, okay, not only are there people who have been complaining about store policies and such, there are people who will go up in a public place that may or may not even have mask requirements and whatnot. But I've seen videos of people who just, go up and cough on people practically out of protest. And clearly, if you don't think these restrictions are that bad and that necessary, then your coughing on somebody should be meaningless. Because either A, you don't think coronavirus is that bad if people get it, or B, you don't think it's actually that easy to get. In either case, freaking coughing on somebody as a way of, subtle protest, it just makes you look dumb. So, to anyone out there doing that, you're not helping anybody. Not even yourself. Because you just make yourself look dumb. So, to the people who are taking those kind of actions, where is grace in that? Where is God's love shown when you are coughing on somebody, hoping that they get a virus that, honestly you think isn't all that bad, but still, basically, where is grace when you are physically enacting your ill wishes upon somebody? It's not there. I can guarantee you that. The overall outrage over some restrictions that are honestly intended, at the very least, to be helpful and, maybe not get as many people killed from a virus that has already claimed over 100,000 in the United States alone. This is one of those things that just baffles me, especially for Christians. I've seen people who will respond a certain way to different actions being taken or efforts being made and have literally said, if you think this is okay, unfriend me, all sorts of stuff like that. Basically, I want nothing to do with you if you disagree with me on this. Again, where is the grace in that? I don't see it. Now, if you want to make your opinion known that you disagree with something and you don't think it's the right approach for reasons XYZ, or however many you have, okay, talking about it is fine. That's how you build relationships. You talk with people. But so few people seem to want to actually do that anymore when it comes to anything remotely controversial. And this kind of bad habit that we've developed as a society of not discussing things from a, maybe not calm, but from a mindset of, hey, this is bad and we want to help. Not talking about things in that way has just set us up as a society so poorly. Because that kind of stuff, that kind of trend, that habit that has been instilled in people is what has gotten us to this outrage culture that we have. Because people don't want to actually sit down and talk about stuff. If we, especially as Christians, are ultimately trying to help people, if we are ultimately trying to show God's love, bring people to Christ and, demonstrate that God is actually worth our praise and adoration and even respect. Like, this isn't the way to do it. And I think that's ultimately what gets me super frustrated about both the way some people have been protesting coronavirus restrictions and even some of the conversations surrounding George Floyd's death and those of other African Americans recently. Like, we're all people going through our own situations, our own circumstances. We see and encounter different things from each other every single day that, put different experiences in our minds that make us more in tune with different perspectives, all sorts of different things like that make us different. And just because we disagree with each other doesn't mean we should, demonize the opposition. Basically, and this is going to sound really harsh, but it's kind of the truth. So, get ready for this. We have far too many people in the United States as a whole, but I'm gonna talk specifically to Christians in this case, because we should be in this together. We should be the cooler heads in this matter, the ones who are actually promoting unity and love and grace and justice and all of that good stuff. To Christians specifically, there are far too many people in the United States who claim to be Christians who would trade God's freedom for the American idea of freedom. And that is ridiculous. God's freedom should not be taking a backseat to anything else. Period. And yet, we would much rather hold to our idea of individualism or, having my liberties supported, protected, than actually caring about other people, than actually engaging with other people, than actually wanting laws enacted to help other people. There are far too many Christians in the United States who care more about themselves than they do about others when it comes to ideas of freedom. And that is one of the biggest problems that we have in this country. Especially the fact that this is considered a Christian viewpoint. Basically, to the broader United States, that is what some people believe to be the Christian viewpoint on freedom, because, you've got the Republican Party that's supposedly linked with conservative evangelicalism and all that kind of stuff. And so because of how intertwined those things have become, we have all sorts of people who aren't Christian in the US seeing Christians, or at least supposed Christians, hold to these ideas that are really politically charged and don't come from God at all. Yes, there is need for some individual freedom, but protecting ourselves from the government shouldn't necessarily take priority over protecting other people from the government and or even each other. Here's the thing. Our priority as Christians should always be presenting God as best as we can to other people. Yes, there are some cases in which changing laws would be the best way to do that. there are some cases where that's not. And wherever the law is lacking is where we need to jump in and show our own love for our neighbor. But that does not mean that our own efforts are like, it doesn't mean we need to forsake the idea of enacting political change in order to just keep the status quo, keep things the way that they are, and keep all of the effort on ourselves. Like, just because we can be the ones to do these things, that doesn't mean we should ignore other avenues and opportunities to help people. Again, we need to actually, engage people, talk with them, build relationships with them, discuss issues with them, and maybe then we can actually come to a better understanding of each other. So, once again, for those of you who claim to be Christian, one of the things that, really one of the most important things I would say that you need to consider whenever you are, posting on social media, talking with other people, whatever, one of the most important things you always need to be considering is, where is God's grace? How can I show God's grace? If we're really trying to bring others to God, let's stop trading God's freedom for American freedom. And let's actually help people in all the ways that we can. And maybe not forcefully distance ourselves from people who disagree with us. Because that right there is putting American freedom over God's freedom. American freedom says, I can have my opinion and stick to it like a stubborn old mule and not have anything to do with anybody who disagrees. The internet has set us up perfectly to just fall in line with that kind of thought. Because, we can unfollow, unfriend, whatever, these people who disagree with us if we want. I have had plenty of disagreements with people on social media over theological stuff, political stuff, any of that. You want to know why I've never unfriended anybody? Because that's not showing God's love and grace. That's not actually showing a desire to engage with the person or to, actually do life together. And it also doesn't show a desire to bring the person either initially to God or closer to God. Whatever the case might be, depending on the person. So, for both this video and the other one regarding, George Floyd's death and all that. Again, anytime that we are interacting with other people, we need to consider grace and how we can show that to them. Because if we don't, we may push people away and completely lose our chance of bringing them to the kingdom and ultimately building the kingdom, spreading the gospel, whatever you want to call it. We can lose that very easily by denying grace to those we encounter and interact with. So, please consider that in every interaction that we have. Our mindset should be, how can we build God's kingdom, show God's love, evangelize, for lack of a better way to put it, in this situation. Across the board. Every situation we ever discuss, encounter, whatever, everything should have that viewpoint. And when we get away from that is when we do God a disservice, is when we make God look bad. So, yeah, anyway. I think that's it. Because that was the main point I really wanted to hit home. So, yeah. You know what to do to follow me. And if you don't, just look down in the description below the video. Leave your comments with thoughts wherever the comment section happens to be, depending on your viewing device. And, okay, again, I want discussion on this. Actual person-to-person discussion. I don't want outrage. I don't want hate and vitriol and all sorts of unhelpful feelings communicated in this. I want people who are actually discussing the matter and considering how we can make things better. Anyway, that's it. So, hope you're all doing well. Hopefully we can try and find our way through the various struggles we encounter in life, coronavirus or otherwise. And hopefully you'll, tune in for the next video, whatever that might happen to be, and engage and interact and continue to follow up with my thoughts or with other people or whatever. But anyway, until next time, stay cool, people.